Hi, my name's Olivia, and I wanted to talk about four lessons that I learned from nursing school. So, my first year started in fall 2020 during the pandemic, and as you know, everything was completely online, which was a pretty unprecedented situation. Let's take it back to 2020, when the news covered COVID 24/7 and nursing burnout was in virtually every news headline. Back then, I had absolutely no idea what nurses did, since a lot of the first year was learning about the very basics of the human body and theoretical knowledge. I remember feeling very powerless after hearing a lot of bad news about the healthcare system because I felt like there was nothing I could do to help. So, the first lesson that I learned was I had to learn how to pick and choose my own battles. There were only so many problems one person could solve, and I had to focus on things that I could actually control. So I decided to focus on my anxieties about the future of nursing, and this led me to join Beating Burnout, which is a mental health club at Ottawa. By the summer after my first year of nursing school, I was itching to get experience in real life. I decided I needed a big change. I wanted to see what the hospital systems looked like. I wanted to see for myself what community care was. So I picked up a job as a sitter in a hospital and later on as a client care worker in the shelter system. And I also moved downtown so I didn't transmit COVID to my family while I worked. And finally, I also shaved my head because, what is a character arc without a change of hairstyle? But I might have jumped in too quickly. My first exposure to the hospital system was pretty traumatic. Coming from a very lucky upbringing, I wanted to understand the realities that other people faced. So, in a lot of shifts, I would sit down beside patients, beside clients, and talk to them. But I often cried after hearing how unfair their social circumstances were and how difficult it would be to address the deep-rooted issues. I remember I would call my dad and just rant about how unfair things were and how I felt entirely powerless to help these people who were so entrenched in their problems. It was a hard lesson, but I had to realize that as much as it's important to be empathetic and to sit down with the patient, I had to differentiate between what was happening to them and what was happening to me. Although emotions are very important and tell us when something is wrong, being in a very high level of emotional arousal all of the time makes it very hard to function as a human being. One of the occupational health nurses suggested that I look into bottom-up regulation to help me manage my distressing emotions, which I still use a lot to this day. Oftentimes, when I experience intense emotions, anxiety, or great sadness, it would manifest in my body: chest pain, high heart rate, muscle tension. Bottom-up regulation is all about soothing the body, making the body feel safe first, which then sends signals to the brain that we're not in danger. This includes deep breathing that I would often do in the clean hold or in the bathroom or nursing station. My third year's theme is juggling too many things that I felt obligated to take on, which led me to falling short of my own expectations and eventual burnout. I think third year was really when I felt like a true imposter. Although I was lucky to be given a few leadership positions, there were many days where I felt like I was not enough. And on those days, I would hyperfixate on all of the things that I couldn't do right, including failing a few lab exams, feeling stupid in clinicals for not knowing the mechanism of action of Tylenol, and not showing up to a few classes because I felt just so exhausted. This leads to the third lesson: understanding that I am worthy, that everyone will have days where they won't be at their best, but that does not negate all of the efforts and contributions that they have already made in the past. And to be honest, this lesson is something that I'm still struggling with to this day. Three things that have helped me and are still helping me are first is prioritizing my basic needs: sleep, eating, and exercise. And then trying to find time for hobbies that are not nursing related so I can feel confident in other areas of my life. For example, after one very stressful shift in med surg, I decided to pick up pole dance fitness on the side. The second thing is to afford myself some self-compassion, which is acknowledging the mistakes and the mishaps that have happened, but also differentiating between self-criticism that is constructive versus not constructive. When I spend my energy beating myself up for the little things, it becomes non-productive. Instead of going down a downward spiral of self-shame, self-compassion would help me focus my energy towards what needs to be done. And finally, seeking support from loved ones is so important. Talking or simply just being around people who are supportive, significant others, friends, or family, if they are close, helps a lot. And finally, the last year, my fourth year, has really been the most fun. And this is the year where I felt closer to what it really means to be a nurse. The patient populations that I worked with in complex care and consolidation were very closely tied to the people in my own personal life. So it helped me gain a deeper understanding to the things that they might face, like health considerations or quality of life discussions. Throughout consolidation, I gained a lot more confidence in my own skills, and I was able to help out with some codes and race calls. So if anybody is interested in working in NACU trauma, there are some resources on beating burnout that you can consult there. Working with acute populations has really shown me how quickly things can change in both recovery and in rapid deterioration. NACU trauma especially showed me that regardless of your age, things can randomly happen to you or your family or your loved ones when you least expect it. And this leads me to the final lesson. Cherish those around you. Even though I may have a clue now as to how things may end, I try my best to focus on the fact that the people around me are still here. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you found this helpful. These are just the 4 lessons that I am still continuing to learn as I graduate to become a nurse in the future. And I'm wishing you all the best in your nursing journey.